Hello and welcome to journeytorussia.co.uk. Welcome back to the show. Today we're in PJ camping in St Albans in Hertfordshire, and we're taking a look at the kind of tents, the kind of systems that we want to take with us on our trip to Russia. Lots and lots of options when it comes to tents, but really for overland travel and for bikers, it boils down to three different designs: dome, geodesic and tunnel tents. We're going to be looking at those three different designs, and we're going to be looking at the factors which will affect how you spend your money. Your cheapest option when it comes to buying a tent is the dome, and that's because they're incredibly simple. You can get them from anywhere. You can even get one with Spider-Man on the side from the local supermarket. They're made of very cheap materials, they're very quick to put up, and because of that, they're favoured by a lot of overland travellers. But remember, check things, make sure that your seams are sealed, make sure it comes with a ground sheet and it comes with the proper equipment. A good tip when it comes to buying a tent is to ask yourself, if it fails, how far have I got to go to get to help? Now, if you're in a Land Rover, it's simple, you jump in the Land Rover. But if you're a day's walk from civilization, you want to make sure that you're safe. And spending £15 probably isn't the way to go. Tunnel tents are a really interesting alternative. Many people go for them because they pack up so small. The poles tend to be shorter and they're very easy and quick to put up. But remember, with a tunnel tent, you have to really consider and be careful about how you pitch it. They're not the sturdiest tents on the market, and a little bit of wind can result in a very noisy, very uncomfortable night. One of the things that will really impact how much money you spend on your tent and assorted kit is the accessories. You want to be careful that it comes with a decent ground sheet, a decent footprint which will protect the underside of your tent when it's in daily use. Most tents come with really quite flimsy tent pegs, which are fine if you're just camping in the Peak District once a year, but are no good on hard Spanish ground. You want to be looking at something like this, aluminium V-type pegs. Very strong, you can't bend them, and they really will force themselves into the ground and give you a nice quiet night without the tent blowing around. The other big thing to consider is pack size. Now on a bike this is really important, so something like the Kayam Quick Erect systems are really good and will save you time each night, but you have to consider the payoff of, do you want something this big sitting over your back wheel? Kayam are one of the biggest manufacturers of dome tents in the world, and they have this unique Quick Erect system. Now it is quick to get up, but it does result in a big pack size. But as you can see, you're not really gaining any stability over the tunnel tents. This kind of dome tent requires a lot of extra guy lines in any kind of weather, and this is really where dome tents start to fall down, and this is where you really need to start thinking about spending more money on a more complex, more suitable tent. Heading down to your local camping store like P&J's here in Hertfordshire can be really helpful. You'll really get what you need, you'll get an idea of what the tents look like put up, but now let's go and look at them in much more detail in a field in Devon. Well, we've made it to Devon, and unfortunately the unpleasant weather has followed us and it's got worse. So before we retire somewhere warmer and drier, I just wanted to show you the pack sizes of the tents we're going to look at. This is the Tatonka, really large tent when set up, but you know, it's quite a small pack size. It's not massive, but it's not exactly the smallest. This is the Exped, by far the smallest pack size and pretty much the largest tent we're going to look at today. And then finally, the smallest tent we're going to look at, but by far the largest pack size, is the Swag Bag. All right, well, we've taken refuge in the village hall from the delightful Devon weather. Now, we've seen these tents in their pack sizes, and as you can see, when they're set up, it bears no relationship to those sizes. Now we are going to look in more detail at a geodesic dome cross. We're going to be looking at a proper tunnel tent, and we're going to be looking at a new product on the UK market, a Swag Bag from the Aussie shop. Let's start with the Orion from Exped. Exped, a name you know you can trust. We've already looked at the Exped down mat, and they're also going to be releasing a synthetic version of that down mat with a built-in pump, and we'll look at that again later. But their tents, every single one of their tents is tested in a wind tunnel, so you know you're going to get a good night's sleep. This tent packs up very small, as we've already seen, but is incredibly light. The great thing about it, though, is because it's got that cross geodesic design, it's very solid. As I push on here, you remember I did that with a Kayam, it moved everywhere. This, absolutely solid on the ground. Getting closer into the Expert tent, I feel a bit David Bailey here, but the first thing you'll notice is the vestibule area. There isn't a ground sheet in here. Expert do a full range of ground sheets. They're called footprints, and any tent you buy, it's a good idea to get a good footprint. We've already talked about that. But the interesting thing about the Orion in particular is the way the vestibules are designed. They're mirrored on each side of the tent, so you can get it in and out either way. But because the sleeping area is at a 90-degree angle to the front door, you can come in very easily, get your wet gear off, straight into the sleeping area with a minimum of fuss. Inside the Tatonka Alaska 3 now, and really tunnel tents is where you're going to see the difference between the budget ranges and the more expensive ranges. You're going to see little things, but they make such a big difference. Things like quality pockets around the living quarters, things like a loft in your vestibule space, and tensioners across the roof of your sleeping quarters. Talking about sleeping quarters, one of the things you should remember is that you're not just looking for the length of your height. You need to make sure you have enough room in the sleeping area for your sleeping mat, which is probably longer than you are, but also enough room to take your clothes off. Now, with tunnel tents, especially this model, you've got access from the side and the front. That means that you can have all of your wet gear stowed in the front there and still get easily in and out of the side without having to traipse through your sleeping quarters. Regardless of what tent you end up buying, I'm going to go back to that ground sheet again, that footprint, because it's the key way to stop condensation building up in your tent. And this is a key differentiator, again, between the budget ranges and the more expensive. You should never be afraid to leave your ventilation systems open, whatever the weather. And if you can't, you need to consider how you're going to ventilate your tent. Condensation buildup can be a real problem. Now we're going to look at a completely different tent. It's the Kaluba, it's a swag bag, and it's new on the UK market from the Aussie shop. All the tents we've seen today with Traveldri-Plus are very high tech. They're very good materials and they're very well designed. But this from the Aussie shop, it's the Kaluba swag bag, is made of a material as old as tents themselves. It's canvas. It's very robust. It will last you a lifetime. And it's possible to create a package which will roll up on the back of your bike and will contain your mattress, your sleeping bag, and your tent. The payoff for that, of course, is the big pack size. A very quick and very simple walk through the pitfalls and kind of things you need to look out for when you're buying a tent for your expedition. If you've got any questions, contact Les at info@traveldri-plus.co.uk and I'm sure he'll be able to help you. Thanks for watching.